Swadika, good morning and welcome to Newsline. I'm Chalapansa Narula. Thank you very much for joining us this Thursday morning. It's April the 9th, 2015, and here are today's news. In today's Thailand moves forward, the Thai Prime Minister met with his Russian counterpart, and both sides have expressed mutual support for further enhancement of trade relations. Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has hosted an official meeting with Mr. Dmitry Medvedev, Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, who is currently on a visit to Thailand. The Russian Premier's visit is aimed at reinforcing the two countries' friendship ahead of the 120th anniversary of diplomatic relations in 2017 and is the first visit at the Prime Minister's level in 25 years. Following the discussion, General Prayut announced that both sides reached an agreement to drive forward bilateral cooperation in all dimensions. The value of Thai-Russian trade is to be doubled from $5 billion to $10 billion within next year, while Russia will consider increasing its import of Thai products, especially rice, para rubber and frozen foods. The Thai Prime Minister also invited Russian investors to get involved in various infrastructure and logistics projects undertaken by the Thai government and added that convenience will be provided for all incoming businesses. Besides the economic aspect, the two leaders also considered the strengthening of bilateral cooperation in such fields as energy, science and technology, as well as culture. In response to Mr. Medvedev's request for Thailand to ensure safety for Russian tourists, General Prayut gave an assurance that the visitors will receive the best care during their stay in the Kingdom of Thailand. The Thai Premier then agreed to visit Russia as invited by his Russian counterpart and at the same time relayed his own invitation to Russian President Vladimir Putin to visit Thailand as well. The Thai New Year's is fast approaching. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha is encouraging the public to preserve all traditions and promote family activities during the Songkran festival this year. In his message to the public on the occasion of the annual Songkran festival, General Prayut indicated that Songkran was an important period when family members are afforded the opportunity to get together for activities such as arms making, Buddha image bathing, Dharma lectures, seeking blessings from seniors and water splashing. These activities invariably strengthen relations between family members as well as create peace of mind for each individual. The Prime Minister indicated that the government has a policy of preserving, restoring and propagating Thai cultural heritage, which would provide the tourism sector with a sustainable selling point. Members of the public are urged to carry out each Songkran activity politely, don appropriate clothes and be mindful of the safety of others and also of themselves. The National Council for Peace and Order, or NCPO, has utilized the power granted to it under Section 44 of the Charter to issue a new order pertaining to the protection of public interest on Wednesday, meanwhile maintaining its stance that it will strictly follow the roadmap to restoring democracy within the scheduled time frame. In issuing the NCPO Order number 4/2558, the Council explained that there remain widespread perpetration of actions that violated public interest, while law enforcement has not been quite optimal. Consequently, members of the public continue to be afflicted by matters such as encroachment of public space, national parks and forest preserves, as well as encroachment of public space resulting in obstruction of traffic. Therefore, the NCPO deemed it necessary to designate measures that would augment the enforcement of law. NCPO Order number 4/2558 stipulates that Cabinet Ministers may seek the assistance of military officials to ensure efficient enforcement of law. A minister would make such request through the Minister of Defense, and the latter would assign military officials to the requested task. Full authority normally vested in state officials of various agencies may also be given to the military officials assigned to assist a minister, pending approval of the head of the National Council for Peace and Order. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister General Prawit Wongsuwan has insisted the National Council for Peace and Order will strictly follow the roadmap to restoring democracy, while the constitutional drafting process should run in line with the scheduled timeframe. His reiteration was made in response to a prediction by Chiang Mai-based political fortune teller Warin Buawiratlet, who indicated that Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha would stay in power for up to 3 years. He said the Prime Minister himself had always emphasized he would stick to the roadmap, so nothing should be worried about. General Prawit also assured that the Executive Order Section 44 of the interim constitution used in place of the martial law would be exercised without aims to attack anybody in particular, but to keep the country in order as well as facilitate the national reform process. General Prawit, also Defence Minister, said the matter had been made clear to foreign diplomats and representatives of the international organizations in a briefing held on Tuesday that was led by Deputy Prime Minister Wisanu Kruangam. A Deputy Prime Minister has brushed aside claims that the government has invited foreign academics to critique Thailand's new constitution. Deputy Prime Minister Wisanu Kruangam said that the government's recent decision to invite academics from countries that have had a success in reform process to the country is only intended to hear their ideas and experience, but not to let them critique or have a say in how the new charter should be. Mr. Wisanu added that under this initiative, the government will set up a working group comprising representatives from various agencies, including the Foreign Ministry, universities, and the Constitution Drafting Committee, to select academics from several countries to take part in the process. He stated that it remains inconclusive which countries will be invited, but the final details will soon be concluded in order to be in time for the activation of the new constitution. Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs Mom Ratchawong Pridiyathorn Tewakun has voiced concerns for the Thai export sector this year, admitting that the growth figure could settle at only 0 to 1% due to the slow recovery of the global economy. As part of his address at a seminar organized by the Thai National Shippers Council, Mom Ratchawong Pridiyathorn pointed out that the world economy has yet to make a comeback, judging from the high unemployment rate in Europe and the lackluster recovery in the US. As a consequence, the Deputy Premier said Thai exports have been hard hit, adding that he's worried the impact would be long-lasting. And based on the records, Thai exports in January and February this year contracted 3.7% and 6.1% respectively. While the downtrend is necessary, it's expected to carry on in March. Under such a circumstance, first quarter growth is projected to average at -4%, which would be one of the lowest rates in history. Growth for the entire year is likely to stand at merely 0 to 1%. However, on a positive note, Mom Ratchawong Pridiyathorn indicated that the declining oil prices have helped stimulate domestic spending, allowing VAT collection during the first 3 months to expand nearly 10%. The government, meanwhile, has been able to disburse 51% of its investment budget. The National Reform Council has approved of measures to improve cyber laws to benefit the economy and society as well as to protect the rights of citizens, and will submit the proposals to the Cabinet for consideration. The proposals had been submitted to the NRC Committee on Mass Media and Information Technology, after which the Council voted 163 to 4 with 13 abstentions to approve the report. The committee's chairman, Assistant Professor Jumpon Ratkamdi, said the development of the country's digital infrastructure required building user trust and cyber security. His committee called for clear protections of user privacy and cybersecurity, as well as increased competitiveness of digital organizations. Notably, his committee asked that the NBTC bill currently under consideration be postponed in order for its members to study the bill and ensure that it adequately protects the rights of users and properly supports the development of the country's digital infrastructure. The NRC concurred with the report and is willing to push for the postponement of the NBTC bill in order for the NRC's committee to better assess the bill's policies. Furthermore, the NRC urged that that the bills relating to the funding of digital policies also protect the rights of users while promoting competitiveness among members of the digital organization. Moving on, the spokesperson of the Constitution Drafting Committee has denied accusations that the CDC is attempting to lobby the National Reform Council and said the CDC would be delighted to host experts from France and Germany to share their insights on the process of adopting a new constitution. CDC spokesperson Kamnoon Sithisaman was responding to criticism that a meeting scheduled for April 9th between the CDC and the NRC was seen as the former's efforts to persuade the NRC to endorse the first draft of the Constitution. Regarding a referendum on the new Constitution, Mr. Kamnoon said the current interim charter can potentially be amended to include a provision calling for a referendum on the next Constitution. As for the proposal to hold separate referendums only on contentious provisions, he said the possibility can be entertained, although he cautioned that multiple referendums would drag out the Constitution drafting process. Moreover, Mr. Kamnoon expressed his agreement to the proposal by Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha to invite experts from France and Germany to share their experiences on the transition to a new constitution. He said it would be an ample opportunity to gain insight on past transitional processes of other countries. A Krabi-Phuket ferry burned off Krabi on Wednesday. More than 100 tourists jumped off the boat and floated in the sea before they were rescued. A 12-year-old Israeli girl was reportedly missing. At about 4 p.m. on the 8th of April, fire broke out in Ao Nang Princess Ferry bound for Phuket about an hour after it left the pier in Krabi. An explosion was heard before the captain ordered all 116 passengers to jump into the water and radio to shore for help. A nearby boat came to pick up the passengers and crew adrift in the sea. One of the tourists said his 12-year-old daughter was still missing after all the passengers were transported to the shore. A rescue team is still searching for the girl. The captain has been detained for interrogation and will likely face charges. A tropical storm has battered 8 provinces in the northern and northeastern parts of Thailand. One death has been reported in Sa Kaeo province. Director General of the Department of Disaster Prevention and Mitigation, Chaiprom Lerd, said 8 provinces, most of them in the northeastern region, had been affected by a tropical storm from the 7th up until the 8th of April. Sa Kaeo and Uttaradit had been hit hardest by the storm, with 1 death reported. More than 600 houses had been damaged by heavy rains and gusts, said the Director General. The department has instructed its provincial officers in 8 provinces to urgently assist the affected people by handing out consumer goods, roof tiles and equipment to repair the damaged houses. The officers are assessing the damages caused by the tropical storms in the 8 provinces in order to provide assistance for them in line with regulations of the Ministry of Finance. The Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, or BMA, has been planning to enhance safety measures for Bangkok residents by installing more lights and CCTV cameras. The Bangkok Fire and Rescue Department said the safety of its residents is an important policy of Bangkok Governor Mom Ratchawong Sukhumpan Boripat. Under his policy, there are 18 types of danger, 14 of which are natural disasters, and the remaining 4 are human threats. The most frequent dangers reported in Bangkok consist of flood, fire and wind hazards, as well as building collapse and chemical leakage. Safety measures will be implemented over 2 decades. The BMA will focus on increasing street lights and CCTV cameras in areas prone to crimes. It will also introduce a rail transport system to commuters to alleviate traffic congestion and improve water management to prevent flooding. The BMA has also been working on a contingency plan to handle emergency situations. In times of emergency, victims are expected to receive assistance even after the crisis has abated. The lifting of martial law is expected to result in more foreign tourists visiting Thailand during the Songkran festival, whereas Japan and South Korea's banning on Thai chartered flights should not affect foreign tourist arrivals into the kingdom, said Tourism Authority of Thailand, or TAT, Acting Governor Kun Juthapon Reungron Asa. According to the Acting TAT Governor, the TAT expects no less than 300 chartered flights to enter Thailand between April 11 and 19th. This influx of visitors would push the number of foreign tourist arrivals during the Songkran period to roughly 500,000. About 14.5 billion baht of revenue is expected to be generated as a result. The projected number of foreign tourist arrivals during the Songkran exceeds last year's figure by 30%. According to TAT Acting Governor, the expected rise of foreign tourist numbers may be attributed to the lifting of the martial law and a more stable political climate. Commenting on Japan and South Korea's banning of Thai chartered flights, the TAT chief said the ban's effect will be more apparent on outbound flights from Thailand to the two countries, whereas tourists from Japan and South Korea will still be able to enter Thailand via routine flights and chartered flights originating from the two countries. And that's it for Thailand Moves Forward today. We'll now take a quick break and we'll check out the exchange rates and commodity prices. Newsline will be back with international news. Stay with us.
In a strong nation, Thailand is promoting 12 core values for the good of the people. The 11th core value: keeping physical and mental strength, unyielding to evil powers or desires, having a sense of shame over guilt and sins in accordance with religious principles.
How could you do that to me? Stop it! Huh? Don't you get it? I don't need you anymore. Enough! We're through. There's someone else in my life.
Say no to the past. Bring your own bag. Say no to plastic.
NBT World, a 24-hour English language television service operated by the National News Bureau of Thailand, or NNT, is designed to bring the most reliable information about Thailand to the international community. NBT World is available on various platforms, including via C-band set-top boxes, GMMZ Channel 202, PSI Channel 272, and a live stream on thainews.prd.go.th/newsing. You can also follow us on facebook.com/NNT News or download the PRD News EN application on your smartphones. NBT World, a vision of Thailand.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline. We begin with ASEAN and Beyond. In the province of Tak, Tak is holding a fair introducing Thai auto products to the ASEAN economic community. The event, held at the lawn in front of King Taksin Maharaj Shrine in Mueang District, is running until Friday, April 10th. According to the Provincial Administration Office, the fair highlights items produced locally through local wisdom, creating jobs and income for the residents. The fair also provides an additional distribution channel for OTOP goods and hands-on experiences for amateur entrepreneurs. The office said vendors can take this opportunity to ready themselves for the upcoming AEC, fulfilling their roles as border traders. Several OTOP items can be further developed to compete in ASEAN markets. Dzhokhar Sarnaev was found guilty following a jury hearing at a Boston Marathon bombing trial on Wednesday. He killed 3 people and injured 264 others on April 15, 2013, and shot a police officer 4 days later. Sarnaev, 21, was tried on a 30-count indictment with 17 of the charges carrying the death penalty. The jury that found him guilty will now decide whether to sentence him to death or life in prison without possibility of parole. Jurors spent just over 11 hours evaluating Tsarnaev's guilt in 2 days of deliberations following 16 days of testimony. Prosecutors laid out evidence that the defendant, an ethnic Chechen who immigrated from Russia a decade before the attack, had read and listened to jihadist materials and wrote a note in the boat where he was found hiding, suggesting the bombing was an act of retribution for U.S. military campaigns in Muslim-dominated countries. Now to Greece. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras gets closer cooperation from Russia at talks in the Kremlin on Wednesday. However, President Vladimir Putin of Russia said Athens had not asked for money to ease its debt crisis. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras also told journalists during a news conference with Putin that Greece's financial problems needed to be resolved within the European Union. The visit, as Athens seeks funds to make debt repayments, caused concern in some European Union states that Greece could break ranks over economic sanctions on Russia to secure aid or use the trip to pressure its EU allies to release financing. But both leaders said Greece had not made any requests for financial aid, and Putin appeared to rule out easing a ban on Greek agricultural imports imposed as part of Russia's response to EU's economic sanctions. Russia is not in a good position to offer aid as it faces its own economic crisis aggravated by the sanctions, a drop in global oil prices and the ruble's decline against the US dollar. Although Russian ministers has said Moscow might consider lifting the food import ban on Athens in the battle over sanctions, Putin said the countermeasures have of course hurt Greece, but this isn't our fault. Mexico passed a law allowing transgenders to change their names and gender with a less expensive procedure. In November 2014, Mexico City lawmakers approved a law in a 42-0 vote that allowed transgender people to legally change their gender without a court order. The new law eliminates tedious trials and also judicial proceedings. Groups of transgender people walked to civil registry offices in Mexico City on Monday, April 6, as the municipal government started implementing a law allowing them to change their names and genders in public records. Mexico City is the first city in Latin America to allow transgender people to legally change the gender on their birth certificates without a medical examination to check whether the person in question had started hormonal treatments or had had sex change operations. In the past, transgender people were asked to present a psychological report that's cost up to 80,000 pesos or about $5,300 US, approximately 170,000 baht. Now, they need to call to make an appointment at the local civil registry office, pay between $33 or about 1,000 baht and about 3,000 baht, and wait between 5 or 8 days for the modified birth certificate. Now, may I rephrase that? They will now have to pay around, in Thai baht, 1,000 to 3,000 baht, or about $33 to $100, and wait between 5 or 8 days for the modified birth certificate. After some time, the rest of the individual's legal records will be automatically updated. And that's it for today's edition of Newsline. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we end the program taking you to Nakhon Ratchasima province to check out the newborn lemur at Korat Zoo. I'm Chalapan Sanarula. See you next time. Swadee ka.